Hi, my name is Tara, and I'm going to answer 10 questions from my green room.
What's a neat fact that you love to share with peeps?
So many. I think I would start right off the bat. If you woke me up at 3 a.m. and said, what is a fact? I would immediately, without waking up, without even opening my eyes, say that a giraffe's tongue is 26 inches long and probably fall right back to sleep. That would feel completely normal to me. I think that fact is always at the tip of my tongue. It's always locked and loaded, ready to go. I was learning a lot of facts yesterday about turtles. Turtles aren't in their shells. They are part of their shells. They are inextricably connected to their shells. So when you think about one of the theme songs for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that they're coming out of their shells, that is not possible and is not something that we should introduce as a possibility. They are stuck in there. They can't go in their shells. They can kind of tuck into their shells, but it's not an in or out situation. And then I learned that in the wintertime, turtles breathe out of their cloacas. They're not exactly breathing, they're getting oxygen out of their cloacas. So essentially when they're hibernating, turtles breathe out of their butts. And the last thing I learned is that all tortoises are turtles. So when someone makes a snide correction, be like, no, it's not turtle, it's tortoise. That all tortoises are turtles. I'm saying that with less confidence now, and I hope I got it right.
What would be the first line of your memoir?
Ooh, famous first lines are hard to top, really. Maybe I would say something like, I was only the third person in my family to ever be bitten by a squirrel. I quite like that. I was doing the coolest thing that a 15-year-old can do, was going to summer debate camp in Kentucky and having lunch with other fellow debaters. We were like throwing little bits of our lunch at a squirrel. It was like coming closer and like getting a little bit of Snickers bar and then coming closer and getting a little nibble of whatever somebody had thrown at it, a Dorito. And it just bit me. And I tried to play it cool. And of course, in a whole bunch of 15-year-olds, everyone's like, Tara got bit by a squirrel, Tara got bit by a squirrel. And I go back to like a debate workshop, and one of the coaches comes up, he's like, Tara, did you get bitten by a squirrel? And I'm like, yeah. And I had to go to the emergency room. Not because I was that badly hurt, but they just didn't know what else to do. They were like, well, we probably just shouldn't wait to find out if she turns into like a half squirrel creature or something. Like, they had no clue. But it turns out squirrels almost never have rabies. At the time, this would have been 1995 or 96 or something like that. Like, there was only one reported case of squirrel rabies. It was like New Jersey. They basically just gave me a Band-Aid and sent me home.
What musical instrument has the most seductive sound to you?
Ooh, the first thing that comes to my mind is it's kind of violating the spirit of the word seductive. It more just sounds biologically sexy, which is, there is this instrument, I think it's called cuica, in the drumming group, the Amphibians, that my husband is in. I'd have to fact check that. And it's basically like a tube that someone puts their hands in it and they just rub on it and it goes, seductive isn't really the word for it, but it sounds like something. Sounds like something rubbing together. And it's an instrument, it's music. It's like, how did anybody get away with that? You have to pay for one to buy one to make that noise. Cuica is Portuguese for the gray four-eyed possum, which is known for its high-pitched cry. Yep, that's the one. It's C-U-I-C-A. Monkey drum.
You found a spaceship. What do you name it, and who's on the crew?
So one idea that I have is, what would it be like if you had someone who would be really out of place on your spaceship crew? Like, I quite like the idea of thinking, oh, I need a doctor on my spaceship crew, and it turns out the doctor that you have is someone who like tries to heal you with magnetic bracelets or some kind of weird solution that they're selling on Etsy. So I would definitely have a pseudo doctor. I think that would make for interesting drama. Then I need a pilot of some kind to fly the spaceship, which I just learned last summer, the summer of space, when I watched all of the space documentaries that PBS had to offer, that flying a spaceship is basically being a pilot. And I was really embarrassed that I hadn't made the connection before. I thought, well, spacemen are spacemen, they're astronauts. Was a little embarrassed to find out, no, they actually had to be able to fly a plane. Because my dad had a pilot's license forever. So we'd probably re-up on that, have my dad fly the spaceship and me. And then I take my husband, Chris, for entertainment and for music. That sounds pretty good. What would we call our spaceship? So I am inclined to let the spaceship's personality sort of drive its name. Like I would hate to name my spaceship before I met it, but I do remember feeling a little bit annoyed, cheated, when Space Club at my elementary school entered a contest to name the space shuttle that was going on, and NASA had a contest, and they came up with the name Antarctica, which I thought was great because their rationale was, if it's going into space, space is really far away from everything and it's really cold and it doesn't belong to anybody. And I was so impressed by that, but they didn't win. So maybe I would give them some redemption by naming it Antarctica.
Is Clifford, the big red dog, a kaiju?
I don't know what a kaiju is, so I'm going to say yes, because he's got to be something, because he's huge, and that would actually be terrifying and destructive. It is always upsetting that when it comes to something like Clifford the Big Red Dog, people don't just flee in terror, as opposed to in the movie Ghostbusters, at the end of the first movie, when Ray conjures up the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and everyone immediately, without even seeing what it's going to be like, before they even know, before he even comes down the road, they're terrified and they think this is a terrible idea. That has always annoyed me because I love marshmallows, and that seems like the best possible idea. And there's like chunks of melted marshmallow falling off of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. To me, that doesn't seem like the tragedy that everybody makes it out to be, whereas everybody's acting like a giant dog that's drool is like dumping fire buckets of water on people is fun. And so I think these have gotten it wrong. Stay Puft the Marshmallow Man is not the kaiju. Clifford the Big Red Dog is the kaiju. Note to self, I will look up what that means.
Gingerbread is outlawed. What will you build your house out of instead?
I think a lot of people will go graham cracker because that is oftentimes substituted for gingerbread, but I want to think of a baked good that I would actually make myself, so that I'm not trying to take the easy way out in this situation. I might not be able to make gingerbread, but I can make something that would be sturdy but tasty. So my first thought is focaccia. Like make some really nice, chewy, doughy focaccia. It's already rectangle, so it'd be easy to build with, and nice and crusty, so it'll be sturdy. That leaves the question of like, well, what would I use as the mortar to hold the focaccia together? Not as easy of a question to answer as it would be with gingerbread. So I would have to have some kind of like thick, dryable garlic butter is my first thought. It would be quite deliciously herbal scented house. Except you can't get yeast right now. So that's the problem. And my sourdough starter died. I tried to make one, and I don't think it was from neglect. It could have been. Since it's died, it's been neglected though, because I haven't thrown it away yet. Maybe it died because it knew I didn't believe in it. Because I do like to cook and bake. I would rather bake something with yeast. I was not that into the idea of sourdough. Chris has been really into making hummus lately. He makes hummus like every 5 days. It's really good, so it's justifiable. And I was making pita to go along with it. And then when I ran out of yeast, you can't get yeast anywhere in town. You'll see sometimes somebody will say like, there was yeast at Hy-Vee on Whitney Way today at 7:30. It was gone by 8 a.m. It's like, that's not worth it to me. So I thought I would try sourdough, but I think the sourdough knew that it was a second choice and that my heart wasn't in it.
Describe your perfect birthday party.
As far as I know, I can only remember ever having one honest to goodness birthday party, and I was really young. I don't remember that much of it. There were other times where like maybe we'd have family over or something, but this was one where like other kids got invited, and I think I would have been maybe 4 or 5. The main memory I have of it is that we played games. We played Pin the Tail on the Donkey, and my mom had bought a bunch of little prizes for the kids who win the games. One of them was a watercolor set. And then I found out that if I won one of the games, I didn't actually win the prize. The prize would go to another kid because it was like my party that you're throwing for your guests to enjoy, not for them to shower adoration upon you, and you're already getting gifts. And so even though now I understand the sentiment and believe in it, I think I would retcon that party a little bit, and I would play all the classic party games, and I would get to keep the prize if I won. My sense of justice was violated. It's such a wholesome memory. It's like, oh, what a G-rated way to be.
What's your favorite sport to play and your least favorite sport to watch?
I enjoy sports that can be played with 2 feet on the ground at all times and a beer in your hands. So that would include sports like bocce ball, horseshoes. My dad made Chris and me a cube set. Anybody who doesn't know, like wooden blocks that you throw at each other, at the other wooden blocks and at each other in a very circumscribed series of events. It takes a really long time. And the cube sets that he made for me and my husband and for all of his friends are so beautiful and so well constructed that we are the only people who have ever used their cube set, because everyone else is just like, they're so gorgeous. And he made this carrying case and it's shiny and so beautifully crafted that no one else could bear to play it, but it is a lot of fun. I like to play those kinds of yard games, and I also took up a little bit, you're into this, pickleball. Chris got me a pickleball set for my birthday last year, and that's a lot of fun. You definitely feel like you're playing a sport, even if it's a sport designed to be able to play by people who are much older and have multiple hips that have been rotated through their bodies. But that's a lot of fun. Least favorite sport to watch. It's hard to say because the ones I don't like to watch, I just don't watch. But I think I would say golf, probably. It doesn't seem like that much fun to watch. I learned recently that skeet shooting is an Olympic sport. And I was alarmed at the idea of maybe ever encountering that on TV, should the Olympics ever happen again.
Describe the secret society you just joined.
When I was in college, because we've gotten me thinking about that, and I used to, so dorky, but like when I would get an assignment, I would go like that day to the library because I'd figure, I don't want to wait till the last minute. I'm just going to do like one thing. And at Eastern Illinois, where I went to school, the library was old and like a big stone building, exactly how you would want it to look. And you would go down this metal staircase. It was like barely just wide enough for a person, all the way down into the stacks to get some book that you wanted. And as you turned corners, there would be like some study carols. It would look totally normal. And then you turn another corner, it would be like a weird pile of lumber, or like some corner of the library. It looked like nobody had ever been there or had forgotten about it. And so I like the idea of maybe being in a secret society where we would meet down in the bowels of an old library and no one would know we were there. We would make little lairs and sit down there and sniff the books, tuck little notes into them for people to find, communicate by like a secret code of circling page numbers or something like that.
Make up 3 new generic medication names.
Here's one, Wifax. Wifax is a pill that you take when you're having to fill out a form and you realize they want you to fax it somewhere and you're like, no, I'm taking a picture of this with my phone and I'm emailing it to you, and that's what you're getting. Another good one would be Sigh Down. Sigh Down is a pill that you take when you are driving through a town that you're not familiar with and you realize there are a bunch of businesses that have gone out of business and they still have their signs up, because I find that really upsetting. You don't get a feel for a town when you think like, oh, there's Jerry's coffee shop. But it's not Jerry's coffee shop at all. It just has like a couple of overturned chairs on a dusty floor in there. And nobody's been in there for ages. And then a good last one would probably be Goal Off, which is a pill that you slip somebody when for a long time they've left their kids' soccer goals out in the common area in your neighborhood, and they've been out there just in the rain and snow for years, and they're all ragged. The kids don't play with them, and they leave them out there. So you slip them that, and it makes them come to their senses.
Yeah. Was that fun? Do you feel like you got your improv motor going?
Yeah.